Welcome to Fun Health with your host, Dr. Tanya Gold, your happiness doctor. Dr. Gold is a medical doctor who specializes in natural medicine and has been in practice for over 23 years. She's also a registered yoga teacher, public speaker, and published author. Dr. Gold has transformed thousands of lives through her ability to make wellness fun using her behavioral associative conditioning method and new 20-second workouts. If it's fun, it'll get done. Dr. Gold believes you're not a diagnosis. Your health matters. Know you're not alone. Dr. Gold cares. Remember, you're a bright, shining light in this world. Keep shining.
Hey friends, welcome to the Fun Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Gold. I feel so honored and blessed to introduce you to this amazing guest and one of my dear friends, Breanna Bradshaw. She goes by Bree. She's a certified health and wellness coach and author of Love Thyself, an inspiring book on self-love. Realizing your cup, no matter how empty, is always refillable. She's a mom of one human and one fur baby and a wife to her best friend. Bree is my definition of compassionate, with her huge smile and willingness to be there and hold space for those in need, even when she is extremely busy. I met her at Seagate Chiropractic, where she works, and I'm a patient. Her unconditional love is ever present. So thank you, Bree, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Gold. It's actually an honor that you asked me to be a part of your podcast. So I'm very excited to be with you today.
Yes. And I wanted to start because you sent me your bio and you mentioned some difficult times where you suffered from a young age, an unexpected loss. And I was going to ask if you would share what happened, what you learned from that.
Absolutely. So yes, when I was 18, I had just moved out, going to college, and I was preparing for a big birthday weekend for my mom. It was her birthday, and so she was planning to come down and spend the weekend with me. But then I got a phone call that Friday that she had a heart attack and they weren't able to bring her back. And so it caused me to go through a very, very, very deep depression, just because my mom and I were absolute best friends. And so I really didn't know how I was going to navigate. I was 18. I felt that I needed her the most at that time, just because I had just moved out and everything was so new. I was in a new place, and it was just kind of like I felt so lost. And so I just took a lot of time digging within myself, and doctors at that time were trying to give me depression medications and give me routes that were just pharmaceutical routes. And for myself, I just knew that that wasn't the answer. And I also knew like my mom had a bigger purpose for me as well too, and I knew what she would want. And so that kind of drove me to just start doing different things to pour into myself daily and get rooted to just making that my why, and just being like, this is why I'm going to do this, because my mom would be proud. And so I started there, and then now I'm here.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Was that an impetus for your book, Love Thyself?
Absolutely. It's funny because I love to read as a kid and I love to write. And so I always would say, like, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And I don't know, maybe in that moment too, as well, I just was so at a young age as well too, like I was very confident and very spunky, but in that rim, I still was maybe a little bit not confident. So I was like, okay, I don't know. And then once that happened, and I kind of just like was like, you know what, life is so short and so precious, I'm just gonna go for it. And another thing that I was like, my mom would be so proud, and so I went for it.
Hey, well, thank you. Kudos for that, because I know many people are on that journey to write a book. It was definitely for me the longest time of my life when I was writing my book. I'm like, I first said I'm going to write a book, and then nothing happened, and then finally I, got organized and did it. But it takes a lot of resolve. So
yes,
yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to see, you shared your personal story. Thank you for that. I was curious if you can share your top 3 simple health hacks that anyone can incorporate into their daily routine.
Absolutely. So my top three, this was actually really hard, but my top three that I always are a go-to is whenever I wake up, I would say waking up and practice any form of gratitude. Because again, like I was just saying, that life is so precious, and whoever we speak to, if it's God, the universe, whoever we believe in, like we know that every day that we're woken up, it is a day that we were chosen again to live in our purpose. And so showing a form of gratitude. So for myself, for me, like that is starting with my devotional, my prayer. Like I always start out by saying, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to see a new day, and just sitting down and writing out my devotion, my intention for the day. Also, so number two would be pouring into yourself with something positive. For your mind to focus on. So setting the tone for your day, because what we focus on grows. And so if we're setting our tone as soon as we wake up, because it's kind of like we wake up and it's a start to our day. And so focusing on something that's positive so that we can stay focusing on that positive notion throughout the entire day, no matter what's going on around us, that's just something that we're rooted in, and we have that positive moment to focus on. And then having one intentional action that you do consistently daily. So if that means like working out, if that means that you're doing yoga, if that means that again, you're reading, you're doing devotionals, whatever that one action is, doing that consistently and daily, because there's something within the discipline that trains the mind to know that if it's something that's good, it's going to continue to want to do that because it's good. Vice versa, if it's something that's bad. So always when you're doing something that's intentional, like setting that tone that it's intentional for you and for your day.
No, I love that. Yeah, and I definitely agree. I usually say whenever I wake up, I'm like, I'm here, I'm above the green. Yeah, it's a good
yes.
day.
Yes.
And then how do you balance? Because you mentioned, one human, you're a furry mom baby, furry mom. And then also, with your busy schedule, I know at the clinic too, but how do you balance a busy schedule with maintaining a healthy lifestyle?
So with that, that's actually funny because my daughter is going into high school this year. And so I knew kind of preparing that I was going to have to be very, very, very clear with these two things. And that is having a clear plan and setting very clear boundaries. And so that is something that I learned, and kudos, I want to say kudos, absolutely kudos to being a part of Seagate and going to seminars with Dr. Suzanne, because this is something that they taught me very, 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 with working with her for 9 years. I've learned this and I feel like I've mastered this to the T in each stage that I'm in. So I would not say that I've mastered it for life, but it changes in each stage. And so like right now, really focusing on setting a plan and a boundary is the way that I set balance. And so that means that I have a clear plan that I write out looking at my week from Sunday to the next Sunday. And then I have those boundaries. So I know where I have wiggle room. I know where things like can't move around, so that it allows me to feel like I'm free in a lot of spaces and not feel like I'm overwhelmed.
Gotcha. Well, that's powerful. Yeah. And I think boundaries, I call them vampires when somebody kind of eats up your time and they call for just a quick question, but it's a lot longer than that. So
yes. And it's absolutely hard, to be honest. It was, like I said, it's something that I had to work on because my heart, of course, wants no boundaries, but I know that my health needs those boundaries. So I had to be disciplined to that.
Yeah. Well, what's one thing that you started doing, like to help with like an example of one of the boundaries you started to set?
That intentional time. So like I have broken up my days to knowing, like, so in the mornings when I first wake up, before the entire house, even before I take my puppy out, I have my intentional time. So like I said, I wake up, I'm doing my form of gratitude, if that's reading my devotional, and then I go and take the dog out, or then I go and start to work out or get my daughter up. And then as far as at work, my focus is solely on my patients and solely work, because that is an intentional space too. And I'm serving so many people and I want to make sure that I'm giving them 100 of my percent. And then when I leave work, then comes my home life. And so becoming a mom again and being a wife. And so that's where I'm very intentional with holding that space just for that. So if that means my cell phone's away, I'm not talking about work, I'm not looking at things that don't pertain to solely my husband and my daughter and my puppy, just because that's my home life and that's that intentional time. So I would say just having very specific meanings for very specific times in my day.
I like that. Do you have, when you're at the dinner table, meals together without cell phones, or do you try to unplug as a family?
Yeah, so that is something that we do try and do very often, and it is so a work in progress. Like being transparent, having a teenage daughter, it is very easy, right, to be in the hustle and bustle of the week, and we're like, okay, we got home later, we had practices, let's get dinner, but we also have a moment to just slow down. So if that's we're all sitting in the kitchen together while we're making dinner, or my husband's cooking dinner, and then we're just sitting around and being able to have conversations. So unplugging to being transparent, I would say, looks a little bit different depending on the day, but it is something that, again, we're intentional about, and we try and incorporate it in as much as we can as a family.
No, I love it. Yeah, we have to do the same thing at our house because otherwise we're like, I do it too. I'm
Yes,
guilty too. I'm like, one more meal
right.
now. Let me turn it off.
Yes,
Unless
yes.
it's an emergency or urgent matter, of course. Okay, so getting to like mindset and motivation, I first wanted to just say your book, and I didn't honestly finish it all yet. I'm gonna get to it. I apologize. I had like carved out
You're
time and
okay.
things happened. I was like, but I got halfway through, and I just the quotes and all the I love the refillable cup, honestly, because when you said it's not about whether the cup is half empty or half full, it's knowing that you can refill. And then even just the
Yes.
intro, you were I think I wrote it down here, but just like you said, to all the readers, I hope this book touches your soul, starves your ego, and feeds your craving to become the best version of yourself. And I just like resonated. So it's definitely, if you can get a copy of this book, it's really good. If maybe at the end or now you can share where to get copies of your book too, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, actually, I can put the link as
That'd be
well
great.
too, but it's through PayHip, and I can put the link on there, and it goes directly to the website, and it kind of tells a little bit more about myself, and then allows you to read a little bit more about the book and purchase the book as well too.
Awesome. Yeah, I really resonate, especially I'm working more on that self-love, developing even more and going deeper with, having those healthy boundaries for my time so I can bring in more peace and love. So thank you for writing the book, and thank you for sharing that link with others. So mindset and motivation, how do you stay motivated to maintain a healthy lifestyle, especially during challenging times?
So for myself, one of the things is staying rooted to my why. And so when I talk about a why, because if some people don't know what a why is just something that you are rooted to that's bigger than yourself. And my why is my daughter, my husband, of course, but my daughter especially, because I am a girl mom, and she is literally my best friend. And when I talk about losing my best friend and losing my mom, I remember just all the things that I had to experience without my mom, like since she's been gone. And so when I'm going through a tough time, or when I'm going through something, I have to remember that, one, I have to remain to keep myself the healthiest version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so being the healthiest version of myself is pouring positive things into my mind, even if there's days where I want to just pour negative because there's hard days and it's just rough. Or sometimes when I want to eat just the worst foods, just because I'm like, hey, it's that time of the month and I just want to eat the worst foods, or I'm just on vacation and I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just make a better nutrition option because I know it's healthier for me. And so staying rooted to my why, and my why is really just being the healthiest and clearest version of myself, so that I can be around the longest for my daughter, to be able to be around for her college graduations, when she gets married, when she has her first kid, and just to be experience all of her first, because I know that if my mom is still here, it would be just such a reward for me to be able to have her alongside to experience all those firsts with me too. So
Yeah.
Staying rooted to my why.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that too. I just think of you walking down there. I want pictures too, or I'll be coming to the wedding. Maybe I'll invite myself. But just seeing you, bringing your daughter down, I could just, have that visual. It's so beautiful. So in your opinion, how important is mindset in achieving and maintaining health goals?
I would say that, most people may say I'm biased, right? Especially like medical professionals, but I would absolutely say that it is the most important thing, because what you focus on grows, and what you believe you can do, and what you believe
Yeah.
you can't. And, you know, I believe that there's a lot of research out there too that proves that, you know, if you, even when it comes to, let's say, like when they did the study with the plants, to where they were talking to one set of plants negatively and not, you know, showing them love, and then doing the other vice versa, pouring into the plants and showing them love. And so we're seeing it even in that realm. And so
Right.
just thinking of it as that, it is the most important thing. It's something that honestly we haven't even tapped into all of the facets, you know, in regards to what it can do for us. And so I would say the most important in achieving a lot of your health goals, because if you are going into something and you're not believing that you're going to lose the weight, or you're going to have the relationship back how it should be, then 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what you're going to have happen, because that's what you're focusing on and you're training the mind to look at.
Okay. And one thing we do during these podcasts is try to get people up and moving a little bit, because many times people are sitting throughout the day. So I invite you, if you're listening to this in your car, of course, do not try to stand up. But if you're able in a place to stand up, otherwise you can do the deep breaths with us. But if you can breathe, I'll have you stand up as well.
Absolutely.
So we're going to just stretch out the body. Again, if you're driving, just lengthen the spine. Obviously, pay attention to the road, whatever you're doing, or hopefully you're listening to the podcast. Just rolling the shoulders back with a nice deep breath. Again, if you're able to stand up, extend your arms. Just gently raise those arms all the way up overhead with a nice big smile and a nice long exhale. And I love what you said with the mindset, because when you're intentional, especially with the mindful breath, we actually bring ourselves to the present, even if we started wondering. So another nice deep breath with a big smile. Raise those arms up if you can, or just roll the shoulders back. And just lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Improve that posture. Reach all the way over to one side. And all the way over to the other side. Oh, it feels good. Nice stretch for the back and the hips. Nice stretch for the shoulders. Slowly exhale. Oh, just give yourself a nice big hug. And a nice big kiss. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Yes. Okay. And if you'd like to sit, you can. If you want to remain standing, feel free. We usually recommend we do these 20-second workouts every 20 minutes, standing up for 20 seconds when possible, just to shake out the body. Research has showed it reduces risk for having low back issues, back pain, because there's a lot of strain in the body when we sit for too long. And then it can also slow metabolism by 90%. So it's like, oh, anything we can do when we sit for, I know. All right. So practical advice. What's a common health misconception you encounter, and what's the truth behind it? And if you want to provide a simple daily or weekly routine that promotes this healthier lifestyle as well.
So I think that this one was a really cool question, because I think that it's something that I encounter a lot, and maybe some people do as well, but they may not talk about it a lot. And so I would say a common misconception that I encounter is there's like the new fad that like everybody can basically find everything on social media, right? So like you know, you can look at an influencer on social media, and you can maybe look in, like, people look at them and think like, oh my gosh, like they have this certain life, and they have these certain things, and they have these certain things that they do, but then when you may sit down or see these influencers doing an actual sit down interview, and you're seeing that a lot of them talk about their mindset, and how like even before when they first started getting into being an influencer, and then now that they're fully influencers, like they've had to actually have therapists, and not in a bad way, but in the realm that like it's not the perfect life that, you know, like we're all seeing on the day to day. I think that we're in such a technology day and age to where we encounter through social media daily, like a false image of what we think is normal. And until we are presented with that actual person that we're maybe idolizing, or we're looking at, to see them actually speaking their truth and saying how they're actually more normal than what we're perceiving them to be. And so I think that is something, that a misconception I encounter so much. And I think it's so huge with mindset, because a lot of the times we're starting our mornings waking up on our phones and looking at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social media rims, right?
Mhm.
And so we're looking at somebody that we may be idolizing or a lifestyle that we may be idolizing. And so we
Mhm.
start having these actions or these thoughts to try and seek that and do that,
Right.
when not realizing that that's not even something that's really real or attainable, because it's just something that's being created versus something that's really
Yeah.
real and raw.
Right. And thank you for sharing that, because honestly, during COVID, I actually loved when sometimes you see all these celebrities from before COVID, you see them all makeup done and airbrushed or whatever they're doing. And now you see them in their pajamas, and some of them I
Yeah.
do without makeup. And I was like, who is that? I didn't even recognize. But then they're in their real, in their kind of authentic state without all the artsy stuff that, or all the makeup or clothing, that's the nice designer clothes, but you see real people, which is really neat. So yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that. And regarding the practical advice for the health misconception, do you have an example of something that you would recommend, or provide a simple daily routine that can promote a healthier lifestyle?
So I would say, even and maybe Dr. Gold, you can agree with me here, is
Mhm.
that I think that there is like a misconception that people were like coconut oil and MCT oil and all these different oils were bad for you. But I've been doing a lot of looking up and researching too that MCT oil is actually very good for the mind. And so
Mhm.
I think starting that, even just adding it into your daily routine. Like for myself, I'm not really a coffee girl, but I add it into a smoothie or something of that nature, and just adding in maybe a nutritious mind food that is something easier, because we want to supplement. Like I love to supplement my body with something whole food and something just natural and easy, versus something, that's not natural and over the counter, because again, a chemical is all the chemicals that are going with our mindset. So I would say definitely looking at adding in just a simple MCT oil or coconut oils into and omegas as well too.
Yeah, and
Daily.
the one caveat I have is some studies have shown, depending on background. So if I had one patient who was Sicilian descent, and he said when he added coconut oil, it actually raises cholesterol. So just being
Yes.
mindful that coconut oil is saturated fats. Look at the country where you're coming from. That's not 100%, because some people can have MCT oils, which are anti-inflammatory and do really well, but some people may not. I'm from the Caribbean.
Right.
So my family, yes, there's tons of coconut trees. I don't know how many in the Sicily, but the idea is, if you're eating some foods, check your labs and see how your body is responding, and then just not doing an excess. Because honestly, I went to this conference, and they actually said, try this supplement. I was like, okay. And I already, have some food with coconut oil. And then I had like a shot of, and I literally, I'll just say I went to the bathroom quite a few times after that.
No
So
fun.
yeah, so you just have to be mindful for your body, what it needs, and then paying attention. You can always see a functional medicine doctor, which I am, but there's lots of them out there depending on where you live. And the cool part, I know Dr. Suzanne is a functional medicine doctor, but all that means is you actually check the function of your body and checking what your body actually needs. So you can actually check how much fish oil. Most people don't get enough omega-3s. So I am 100% big proponent of the fish oil from a high quality source. You do have to make sure
Yes.
it's tested, so it's without or very little mercury. It's heavy metal tested, so it doesn't have the heavy metals, and it's purity tested. So third party testing has what it says, but you get the right dose for your body. And then the nice part is, and if people like, oh, fish oil, you can freeze a capsule so you don't get the fishy taste, or they have better forms like barleans, which are tastier. But anyway, there are forms that people can deliver to their body, which are anti-inflammatory and actually reducing risk for dementia and strengthening
Yes.
bones. So yeah, I'm definitely, when you said that, because I was like, this also boosts the immune system. It can help you with shiny skin, shiny hair, strong nails. So I remember, because when I was little, my dad gave us fish oil, but this is the raw stuff without the flavors. It was really nasty. Yeah, it was gross. But anyway, my sister said absolutely not. My dad's like, you're supposed to take it. And, he would go away or whatever. Like he would make us breakfast in the morning, but, he was still in the kitchen and she would literally give it to the dogs. And I was kind of, the good daughter. I took all my vitamins. And it was funny because over time we saw the dogs, their coat became so shiny.
Yes.
And clean. And my sister kept getting all these cold symptoms, which I wondered if she took the fish oil, if that would have been the case. I was never getting any colds. And I just noticed like my skin, everything was kind of changing. I got off the wagon a little bit when I got to college because I was like, I'll do what I want. But then I was getting sick. I was like, you know what? Dad knew what he was talking about because he grew up in the Caribbean and his family gave him fish oil. So it was just on a regular basis. So, and again, I always say, yes, people sometimes say, can I just eat fish? But, it's the amount, and to eat such an enormous amount of fish to get that high dose of the supplement, especially if your body is lacking, it can be a little challenging. So you can do both. And if your body is really needing a lot of fish oil or if you have a condition that's inflammation, I was seeing a patient with rheumatoid arthritis. And when those joints are really inflamed, you sometimes need higher doses of a good, strong anti-inflammatory that's not going to hurt your kidneys or, hurt other parts of your body because they put it on meloxicam, but some of those NSAIDs like ibuprofen and those, they can actually inhibit prostaglandins, which protect the lining of the gut. So it can increase risk for, ulcers or bleeding problems or kidney damage. So just being mindful of what you're taking and their side effects. So I like fish oil because there's a lot more benefits in my opinion. You still have to be cautious and pay attention to amounts, but if you're getting it evaluated by a functional medicine doctor, then you can be on the same page. So you can do it safely.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I just wanted to wrap up if there's any future trends that you see in personal health and any recommendations or things that you want to kind of last tips, like somebody who's kind of getting started, what you would recommend to them.
I would say if you're getting started, remember that there is a finish line and you get to create that. And so just remembering that you are actually just give yourself a pat on the back that you're at the start and that you're already there, because that's one step in the mindset is that getting there is the hardest step. Once you're there, all the other steps will be easier to come to follow, especially if you have somebody that's supporting you along the way. So give yourself a big hug, as Dr. Gold would say, give yourself a big kiss, as Dr. Gold would say. And just love on yourself so much. And remember that, give yourself that pat on the back. You've done a great job already getting to the start line.
No. Well, thank you, Bree. I just you really appreciate you for being on the Fun Health Podcast, for joining me, just being just a wonderful person in my life, just so supportive and loving. If people want to get a hold of you or get in contact with you, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
You can reach out to me I have social media, which would be Bree.Bradshaw and then _BeWellCove. And then also I will give Dr. Gold all my information in regards to the link for my book and my contact info so that you have that as well too, in case you want any one-on-one health coaching.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. We so appreciate you. And you're just a beautiful shining light in this world.
Thank you. You as well, Dr. Gold. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fun Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Tanya Gold, your happiness doctor. Stay tuned for more uplifting and inspiring episodes to live your best life. Make it fun so it'll get done. You're so much more than a diagnosis. Remember, you're not alone and your life and your health matters.